So Daniel posted about that dude, Javier, who I believe was in Spain, or is in Spain, and he's the only person. He's been making videos for I don't know how long, maybe a year, maybe 2 years, but he basically is all by himself in Spain, but he's connected to the internet somehow, so he's connected to us. And people will ask him to go do something. Go to a courthouse, go to a grocery store, go drive a car off the lot, high-end car, Ducati, and so on. And he goes and does it. And I think the year is supposed to be 2027, where he's at. And all the humans are just gone, except for him. It's very fascinating. And Javier doesn't seem to be too terribly upset about it, which is also interesting. But people are, for the most part, a lot of people are thinking it's somehow fake or staged. And but he's going to so many places that they're asking him to, and just playing with stuff that Daniel himself and a lot of other people are thinking, oh, somehow he is there in Spain all by himself and it's not staged. I think it could perfectly well be real. Quotation marks real. Probably is. Okay, so my basic breakdown of that situation in the most easy to understand way is, number one, you have to be outside of just like a sleep mode to consider it at all. And then if you're a little bit past that, then you know that the persona is itself an image. So you yourself, your history, your life, your family, your friends is an image that plays across the screen of consciousness. So at the same time that you see people running around and doing things, interacting with each other, having sex, maybe you're not seeing that directly, but you know it's happening. At the same time that you're walking in the middle of a crowd, at the same time you also don't exist, and that crowd doesn't exist. And just in the same way as you're watching a crowd on the TV screen, somebody could say, this crowd doesn't exist. And someone else will say, oh, you're full of shit. I can see them. They're interacting with each other. And then the person that said the crowd doesn't exist would just go and turn the TV off. It's that sort of similar connection. And the other thing I wanted to say is basically for the avatar system to work, you need to have a foreground and you need to have a background. The foreground is yourself, your body, what's in your near vicinity, what's really close to you, like the ground you're walking on, all that stuff, the stuff that's close to you. And then you have the background, and that's everything else. So you're in control to some extent of the foreground, and you're not in control of the background. So since people started messing with everything, literally everything has been messed with, played with, tinkered with, tampered with. If you imagine, like, how does the constant, right? The constant it's both. The constant is you as a self, as a avatar, self-presented character, and it's also the background, which is, those are the sort of two constants. Normally, the background is the only constant for people, and the foreground, which is the self, is not constant at all, and it's just wobbling all over the place and gyrating, and they don't know what's going on, and they have not accessed their 0 point or their divinity or anything like that, or anchor. So their foreground is all wonky. But when you're playing the role of the avatar, the background is your constant, at least. So maybe the foreground is still also going crazy, but at the very minimum, no matter what level of spiritual development you're at, the background is the constant. So if you can imagine, how does that work? Like, how does that background, how do the cars just drive by exactly how they do? How does the tree like move how it does? How do the animals interact? How does gravity know how to hold everything in place? How does all the rest of existence, contrasted with yourself, do what it does without like interfering with your ground of being, which is yourself, your near and dear environment? So compared to yourself, your foreground, the background is an automation. Okay, this is from the perspective of God's spark self, like divine self. From that perspective, you, the individuated bit of consciousness, are in control of like your immediate vicinity, and then the rest of it is sort of outsourced to just simply outside of your personal control. So when things start getting tampered with, then the thing came up, which is called entrainment. And entrainment just means like a gravitation toward a set of control structure, input, output. So basically, the other, what is aside from yourself, is an entrainment system unto itself. But it's a hackable entrainment system. And so basically, in some versions of reality, you can, via high technology, record someone's physical lived experience, every single bit of it, or at least down to the nuance that can be controlled. You can record that, and basically as a being in some other capacity, not this current one, but in another way of accessing all that is, you can say, hey, I want to try on Gary. I want to try that. I want to play that movie. And you can pick that movie up and plug it in, or plug yourself into that recording, because everything is recorded. You can plug yourself in and you can live that experience to whatever extent that it can actually be recorded, because the self that is beyond the recording ability is not able to be recorded, but aspects of it can, like just like a movie. So problems can occur with that type of thing, because essentially you are just mixing up what is general consensus reality and what is personal reality and what is simply constant, like background constant, or sort of like normal natural entrainment, because trees are entrained to their own rhythm. Like a tree doesn't like get up and start waving its branches at you and trying to use sign language to communicate with you. They don't do that. So if you were to port your consciousness into a tree, you would feel exactly the same way as when you take mushrooms, or when you smoke weed, or when you get on acid or DMT or LSD, and you would become entrained into that mode of consciousness. And it feels, at the beginning at least, exactly like imprisonment, because the entrainment systems of each type of being and thing and consciousness have to retain a certain amount of constant. Otherwise, it's just overload for the conscious mind. there is such a thing as overload for the conscious mind that's experiencing this avatar system. All that to say, Javier can very well be ported into a system where the background constant called people and animals has been removed, and all that's in there in that particular nearly closed environment. It's not completely closed, otherwise he wouldn't be able to talk to us. All that's present there is him and the set without the people, because animals are still there, cars are still there, etc., and so on and so forth. And under this theory, all of the potential parallel realities are connected with what we call the internet. And of course, there's other internets than our silicone one. There's also the mycelia internet. There's the mental internet that we have that we're not currently attached to, thank God, because if we were, we'd be having direct access to everybody else's mind, and we'd probably be going crazy. So, yeah. My thoughts on Javier, the lone survivor. Hope everybody's doing well. May have something special for you all this weekend. And yeah, take care. Peace.